If I got the job, I would be in charge of his niece and report her progress to him. And that was all I would be doing. Since I was extremely good at my job, I didn't foresee needing to take shit from Mr. Angelini. There was one picture of him, though, playing polo in Windsor, which caught my attention. Something about the expression in his eyes as he leaned down to swing his mallet. Here was a man who got what he wanted. An implacable man. A man you did not antagonize. A man you allowed into your body. Did I just go there? I crushed the thought. I was a professional, and I had no intention of ever being anything else. Under no circumstances was I exchanging my good reputation for any man, no matter how hot he was. Besides, it wasn't as if a man like that would ever give a woman like me a second look. All those beautiful women swarming around him like flies to shit. Not a chance. Which obviously was a good thing. The last thing I needed was temptation. Not that I'm saying I was tempted. The man opened the grand doors and my jaw dropped. Jesus. Mr. Angelini must be a very, very successful businessman. If the exterior was impressive, the interior of his abode made me feel like I had just stepped into an episode of The Secret Lives of Billionaires. It had one of those foyers with a wide spiral staircase. From the glass ceiling 4 floors up, hung the biggest chandelier I'd ever seen in my life. It seemed to have millions of crystal pieces that caught the sunlight streaming in from the top and practically blazed like it was on fire. Our shoes rang on the marble floors. Some poor minion had polished them so hard I was afraid Brain would be able to see up my skirt. Fortunately, he kept his eyes ahead. We turned into a room, which I suppose could be called a music room, since there was a gleaming grand piano in it. "Wait here until you are called," Brain said. There were 2 women sitting on the fine chairs in the room. I recognized one of them, Mary Sedgwick from Caring Nannies. She was generally accepted as their best asset. She looked at me with a smug expression. The other woman, I didn't know, but I guessed she must be from Sarah Bright's agency because she was holding a file with their logo on it. She nodded at me formally. I smiled at them both and took a seat on one of the armchairs. It was upholstered in sunshine yellow and was incredibly comfortable. Funny thing, I suddenly felt nervous. I took a mint out of my handbag and popped it into my mouth. A middle-aged woman in a severe navy blue suit came into the room. "Miss Sedgwick, please come with me." Mary stood and with a confident smile walked up to her. The door closed behind them, and I turned my attention to the French windows. Outside, stone steps led to a formal garden that seemed to stretch endlessly. There was a fountain. I stared at it blankly. 10 minutes later, the woman in the navy blue suit was back, which surprised me. Maybe Mary didn't get the job after all. "Miss Winters," she said with a smile. I smiled back, stood up, smoothed my skirt over my thighs, and walked towards her. She introduced herself as Mrs. Misha Garev. She was one of Mr. Angelini's personal assistants. If this job wasn't Mary's, I felt confident it would be mine. I was good at my job. They called me the child whisperer back at the agency. I had tamed spoilt, rich kids, brats with behavioral problems, sick kids. So far, no kid had defeated me. I straightened my back as Mrs. Garev's hand closed over the intricately carved, gold door handle. The door opened and the wind left my lungs. Good Lord. It must be the devil himself sitting behind the desk, because only the devil could be so darkly handsome.